はい、ロック福田の腕時計魂。今日はもう、
はい、
ね、
スーパーゴージャスな空間にお邪魔しております。
だから、2回目だから正確に言うと前回は前編後編だったから3回目になるのか
はい、ブルガリさんです、銀座の。
で、今日はね、本当にスペシャルなゲスト、
はい、
ウォッチデザインの統括者の、エグゼクティブディレクター、ファブリツィオ・ボナマサ・スティリアーニさんが直接、時計をご紹介いただけるということで、
嬉しい。
で、僕らもね、今日ね、いろいろとつけさせていただいて、
はい、ニコニコしてます。
ということで早速見に行きましょう。はい。Showtime.
Showtime.
It's my time. So I'm very happy to be in Japan here. After, if I remember well, more than 3 years. My last trip in Japan was at the beginning of 2019. And after, due to the COVID, it was impossible to be here. So now I'm very happy to be again in Tokyo, in Japan. And here we have the novelties that we introduced during our last event, Geneva Watch Days. It was 2 weeks ago, if I remember well. The major novelties are for sure the 3 octos. The first one is the 8 days. We completely redesign the movement.
Yeah.
It's a new manual winding movement with the 8 days power reserve. New barrel, bigger barrel, 765 millimeters is the length of the spring today. We completely changed the wheels. Now the barrels move slowly if you compare with the first one. We completely redesigned the bridges and we completely redesigned the power reserve display. So we changed the design of the bridges. We were obliged because we changed a lot of components and wheels of the movement, as you can see from the dial and even from the back view. We had a rail this time. We have applied indexes, and we changed the finishing of the platine. So for the first time after many years, we have again a gold on the Octo Finissimo. The first introduction was made, if I remember well, in 2016. It was the matte finishing gold for bracelet, case and dial. Today we decided to change a bit the style of the gold version of the Octo, and we have the two-tone finishing with the polish and brush execution, with this time with the alligator strap. The first link comes from the metal bracelet, and I find this solution very refined in terms of aesthetic, because complete the design of the watch if you compare with the first bracelet, and it's even let me say the ergonomical the ergonomic is different on the wrist, because now this kind of bracelet follow in a different way the shape of your wrist. Because the first link is a rigid link, come from the bracelet, and the leather strap follow in a different way your wrist. The watch is very elegant and sporty at the same time. We are very happy about the results. We are very happy about the reaction during the Geneva Watch Days. For many journalists, is the most interesting watch of the Geneva Watch Days. If you want to try.
Yes.
It's more flexible.
Yes.
It's the new line.
Yes, the first link is more it's more rigid, because it's become part of the case, and the leather strap, it works in a different way compared with the previous one. Second introduction, we are still on the gold watch, is the Octo Finissimo in gold. The first one was a very important success, but matte finishing for many clients was a bit something that is not in their taste. So we decided to stop the production of the gold version with matte finishing, and now after few years we are back with the gold, this time with the dark brown dial instead of the gold dial of the previous version, and we change the finishing is a brush and polish like the previous one. So as you can see, after the Octo Finissimo S, that is a great success for us, is the best seller in the Octo collection, we change a bit the finishing of all the Octo watches. Today we still have the titanium, that is the iconic watch, the set, the new style with just one finishing, one material. But we have even the Octo Finissimo S with 100-meter water resistant, screw-in crown and different features. So today the market is split in two. The watch lovers, the watch collectors love the titanium because it's the thinnest, and the younger collectors who has many watches at home prefer the Octo Finissimo S because for their needs the watch is more versatile. But for example, watch collectors, very important watch collectors, they has a lot of watches at home. They don't want to use the Octo Finissimo for swimming or these kind of things. They have other watches. But younger collectors that has less watches, they prefer to have a more versatile collection, so they prefer the Octo Finissimo S, even if it's a bit thicker.
Which do you prefer?
I prefer the 8 days, honestly. It's one of the most beautiful Octo Finissimo that we ever made. It's very elegant, it's very sport at the same time. I love this configuration about the first link from the bracelet and the alligator strap. I find it very elegant and more refined in terms of design. Yeah.
こっちがね、お気に入りということで。
このね、新型ムーブメントのレイアウトがすごい綺麗なんだよね。
So the layout of this new movement is quite beautiful.
Yes, the back is beautiful. Honestly, we try to have the most beautiful movement as possible with this kind of architecture that we have, layout that we have about the movement. We, for the first time, we use the BVLGARI and the name of the collection on top of the movement, on the dial. For the first time we write 8 days. We decided to write 8 days on the dial because in a certain moment this part that must hide some component was empty, and we decided to write down, even because it's a new movement, so the idea is to underline that this is a new movement. That's why we write 8 days.
これはね、都市計画図みで。
It looks like a city map actually,
Yeah.
in the back.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
じゃあ次のモデルを。Next one.
The second one, it's very unique, let me say, is the collaboration that we made with the architect Sejima, that you know very well. The idea comes out during the first meeting that we had through the Zoom. It was during the lockdown. In a certain moment, Sejima showed me a picture about an invisible train. No, you know the invisible train. And I was shocked about this idea that the train could be invisible because reflect the environment. It was a full polished chrome train with half-tone pattern on the windows. And at a certain moment I say, but this could be interesting, very interesting as a concept, because we love to talk about ultra-thin watches. But in a certain moment you have the physical limit of the material. So to have an invisible watch in the Octo Finissimo collection could be very interesting. And we never made the Octo Finissimo in steel with this kind of finishing, full polish. And it's very interesting because after the great success of the titanium, for example, we work with the same material, with the same finishing, like the titanium was at the beginning, but in a different way. So these two axes, the way to play with material, one finishing, one material, and the way to play with the invisible concept on the ultra-thin watches was very interesting for us. And we start immediately to work on this idea. And you have the half tone on the glass that you can see with some You can see that we have some dots on the glass because it was important to have some shades on the glass. That's why we decided to have, according with Sejima, this kind of pattern on the crystal sapphire. The dots are on the inner part of the crystal sapphire, so the watch has no indexes, no logo. It's just a reflection of you. So the third concept was, it's a very philosophical concept, is that you are your time. When you read the time, often watch lovers doesn't read the time on the watch. It's just an excuse to see the watch, to see the bracelet, to see the dial, but they don't care about time. So the third idea was that when you try to read the time, you are your time. So that's why we have this mirror finishing on the dial, because we never look at the time when we look at the watch.
It's like for yourself.
Yeah, now we look about the beauty of the watches because we love watches. So at the end, you can see your face changing through the years on your dial. So you become your time. It's not anymore the common time, but when you look at the watch, you see your face and you see that you are changing. And
瀬島さんを選ばれた理由っていうのは何かあるんですかね。
So, what was the reason that you collaborated with Mr. Sejima?
we love architecture. It's one of the biggest source of inspiration. We already make a collaboration with Tadao Ando. And when we talk about Octo, as you can see, is a case made by different layers with a very architectural approach in terms of different facets, different angles, and is not a common design for a case. The third watch, let me say the fourth watch, is the aluminum we change collection.
Sorayamaさん。
Yes, the aluminum that we made with Hajime Sorayama, one of the myths of my youth, because when I start to make sketches, my obsession was the way to represent the reflections. And Hajime Sorayama, it was popular in Italy in a certain moment because he was in charge for an advertising of a very popular car in Italy made by Lancia. And on the side of this car you have one of his android, the lady's android that represent more or less Marilyn Monroe. This amazing dress and the windows, the wind, so the image was very, very strong. And that's why Sorayama became famous in Italy, because in a certain moment he started to publish his drawings about the androids and full polish, full chrome with a very, for the first time you can see androids in a more, let me say, human way. And this was very, very interesting, but I was interested even on the technique, the way that he had to represent surfaces and reflection on surfaces. So when Roberta called me and said we have the opportunity to work with Sorayama, what do you think? I say it's going to be fantastic for me because it's one of my needs. He's a master in his field. And we met the meeting via Zoom during the lockdown, and it was so funny because his studio is very big studio, but the space that he has around him, it's like this table, because it's full of different things. Airplanes fly on the roof, engines, and so many things around him. So, and the meeting was super funny, absolutely unique, and I was imagining to talk about polish, chrome, and this kind of thing. You say, no, Fabrizio, I love engine turning. I love the dashboard of the pre-war cars like Alfa Romeo or other cars. I love, for example, I'm a great fan of the aviation history, so I love the spirits of St. Louis, and I love the brave of this kind of pilot about airplanes and cars. And we discussed a lot about aviations, and at the end we found this kind of finishing for the dial. And the meeting was very funny because Sorayama talk. I tried to make sketches to interpret his thought, and they say, "What do you think about that?" Yeah, great. So, and now we start to talk about hands. What do you think about? I would love to have hands. I would love to have just one color on the dial. So for us, it's perfect. And so we can remove the 12, the indexes. What do you think? Great. It was fantastic. And just to add the 2 because it's a lucky number.
Yeah.
And that's it. It was super easy. We make just one very important meeting, and the other meeting was just a fine-tuning of the first ideas. It was super smooth, let me say. We love Japanese. It's one of the most important market and country for us in the history of Bulgaria. And we love the aesthetic, the Japanese aesthetics, because it's sometimes it's close to the European, Italian aesthetics, sometimes it's so far. But even when it's so far, you have a very unique sense of aesthetics and proportions and details. So I love this kind of approach. That's why for me it's so... And I had the opportunity to meet a lot of very important artists. The first one was Ryuichi Sakamoto, thanks to Kamine. And after Hiroshi Senju and Tadao Ando, and now Sejima with Sorayama. So it's a lot of very important and prestigious architect and artist. The original sketches of the meeting.
Is this original?
Yeah.
Oh.
The original. SLN is superluminova, is the luminescent material. And this is the original sketch of the dial. We discussed about the 22, the 12, and after we decided for the 2. Different way to represent the Bulgari logo with the Sorayama font. But in a certain moment, Hajime says, I'm not interested. If you want to put the signature Sorayama, you can do it, but feel free. He was very open, and some sketches about the packaging, and some sketches about the spirits of St. Louis, and some finishing about the packaging with the plaquette with Sorayama. We start the discussion to talk about the hands with the propeller shapes. But in a certain moment, you say, okay, we are not interested in, and we decided for this kind of configuration.
Sorayama さんって昭和22年の2月22日生まれ。でラッキーナンバーが2。
なるほど。だから12、22のパターンと。
Yes, look at this. This was the date of the meeting in March. Yes, last year in March.
And you keep the sketch. It's so pretty.
Yes, is a part of the heritage of the company today. So it's.
And then is this traveled with you to here?
Sometimes. Sometimes I make sketches around the world during my trip in the airplanes or at the airport. Who knows when the idea comes out? So that's why I've always ballpoint pen, markers, and paper. Because otherwise the idea is lost forever. The Serpenti Seduttore at the beginning was born as a jewelry watch. The idea comes out from this amazing bracelet that recall you the scale of the Serpenti. And it's one of the most iconic elements on the Bulgari history, this kind of hexagonal pattern. The case comes from the Serpenti tubo gas and the Serpenti spiga that you wear it. So the Serpenti Seduttore was a different way to wear a Serpenti watch. The case was very well known, the drop-shaped case, but the bracelet was a brand new bracelet dedicated to this watch. At the beginning of the idea, the purpose was to have a more versatile bracelet. That's why we made this kind of link. It's very flexible, but that gives us the opportunity to play with different material. And this is the most prestigious Serpenti Seduttori that we made, with the smallest tourbillon still today on the market, with the black spinel baguette and with diamonds. So it's black and white. Black is one of the Bulgari color, the white is the color of diamonds. We have a full pave case, we have a pave on the side of the bezel. The watch is absolutely stunning with this kind of... so as you can see, not only the thinnest movement, but even the smallest. We have the Piccolissimo today, and we have the smallest tourbillon with this sapphire bridge. We are very happy about this watch. It's very elegant. It's another way to wear a Serpenti watch.
This is another amazing sketch.
This is the sketches that I made during the Geneva Watch Days.
Oh, Geneva Watch Daysの
Yes,
時に
about
描かれたんですね。
the Serpenti, just to explain a bit the shape and the idea. So the spinel on the bezel and the spinel on the metal bracelet.
そうですね。
Yeah.
バゲットが本当に美しいです
す
よね。
ごいもんね。で世界最小のトゥールビオン。
And the smallest tourbillon in the world.
Yeah. Still today is the smallest tourbillon in the world that we produce with our partner in Switzerland. We developed the movement from scratch. It's not so easy to realize this movement because it's not, let me say, a round-shaped movement that we put inside the Serpenti case. It's a movement that we designed with this shape. So
like the
exactly. Exactly, so it's a dedicated to the Serpenti case. Let me say that we try to the whole collection to have a different opportunity to talk with different clients. Through the aluminum to the Sejima, for example, or the 8 days, we have 3 different clients in front of us. The watch collectors and the collectors who love Bulgari with different design expression, and on the ladies' side we are keep working on the Serpenti aesthetics and the way that is a bit part of our DNA to play with materials and colors. So let me say that through the whole collection that we presented during the Geneva Watch Days, you see different materials, different colors, and even different products like aluminum, Serpenti, and for sure the Octo Finissimo. Thank you.
Thank you very
ありがとうご
much.
ざいます。
Thank you so much.
I hope you get good night's sleep tonight.
Yeah.
はいということで、
すごく素敵な方でしたね。
いつもおしゃれで、もう今日もう何度もお会いしてるんだけど、ネクタイしてないのは今日初めてかな。
そう
見たの
ですか。
スイスに行くたびにお会いしてて、で何度かインタビューもさせてもらって、もう僕は英語喋るの下手だからなまっちゃって聞くばっかりなんだけど、いつもすごくきちっと説明してくださるのはともかく、なんかねお茶目なところがあって、僕らがねこうやってね時計を、新作を見せてもらってると、なんかこうずーっと見に来て、なんかねこうなんだろうな、こうアクセサリーみたいなお土産をねこうみんなにくれたりとか、
すごい。
前はねなんかこうアルミニウムのね筒に入ってね葉巻を1本ずつくれたりとかね。
お茶目。
そうなのそうなのそう。
ねえ、
だから今日久しぶりにお会いできて。
じゃあお顔合わせては久しぶりですね。
そうコロナになってからお会いできてなかったんで。
たくさん見てくださる視聴者の方のおかげでこういったインタビューのね機会も持ってて非常に幸せですね。
そうだから、これからもね、機会があったらどんどんとこういうふうに、まるちゃんの英語も、あれなんで、ということで、いつも同じ話をしてますけれども、ブランドを取材してほしいとか、あそこのお店気になるから、見てきてよというのがあればどしどしリクエストください。で僕のインスタのDM 宛てでも構いませんので。ということで、次回はどこかなということで楽しみにしててくださいね。じゃあね、見てみて。